Imani Wado.
Nangadef.
Good evening.
Hey,
Hey. Welcome everyone.
you got it
How we
right.
all doing today?
Yeah,
We got to start it right.
Wonderful.
fine, fine.
Chole man.
Yeah. While we're working with Donnell and his technical issues, I'd like to personally welcome everybody to the Amante Show, Fade to Black. He coming in. He coming in. We here. Hope everyone's had a good day.
Uh,
I hope everybody's ready to talk about some exciting, interesting issues.
yes. I believe Professor O is going to lead us today in introducing
Yes.
some African culture to us. And we have a special guest, Mr. Sifiwe Ka Balenka. We will allow him an opportunity to introduce himself once we get underway and do our opening statements. And so I guess we're just kind of waiting till Donnell or Mr. O take the lead.
Yeah. Can you hear us over there, Mr. Balaka?
Yes, I can.
Balaka? Okay. Make
All
sure
right.
everybody can hear.
Yes.
Well,
You
while
tell
we're
me
waiting
when
on
to
the
start.
technical,
Okay.
while we're waiting on the technical, we can go ahead and just
Yeah.
bypass the little intro and go straight into the opening statements. We start with you, Mr. O.
The opening statement. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So you go ahead.
Yeah, Darnell is
You going
having
Do
with,
I go
technical
on?
difficulties.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Go
it's your
ahead.
turn,
Right.
Professor
Okay.
O.
Yes. Well. Uh, Good evening, everybody. Since I'm going to be the one to expose today, I will just be brief. Participating in this program really
Mhm.
has given me more reason to stand up for our people and for our community. I am not a racist, but we know there's a problem in the world. The problem is where everybody cares for his own corner. So the black man's corner is my corner. Not that I hate others. At least in my tribe, they say that the only people who can go to a meeting are people that have brethren. I don't know whether you understand that. Because in a meeting, there can be fight. And if you go alone without brethren, you are finished. So that is why I want to refuge myself within my community. At least when there is fight, I know there are one that will stand by me. And I hope to be able to share with you some of my opinion today in the two topics that I prepared. That's my opening statement.
Well put. Oh, this is free ball. Anybody else can pop up next. How about you, Teach?
Okay. Nangadef, I just want to take a stroll down memory lane and recant a situation I had in the Congo. And I want to lead that with the spirit of Africa is one. The spirit of the African people is one. And I say that because in 2012, I went to an official meeting. And when the meeting is over, there's no interpreters. And I was in Kinshasa. And I was supposed to go from Kinshasa to Angola. but all the interpreters were gone, and I could not figure out how to get to the bus station because I could not speak French. I could not speak Kigali. I was messed up, so I refused to leave my hotel room, and I stayed in my hotel room for 2 extra days. And so the management finally found someone that could speak English, that could, and then found a person that spoke French and English, and then found a person that spoke Kigali. So we had this 3-way conversation to get me to my destination, because they said, why is this lady not checking out of her hotel room? I was not going out there on the street. So they, the man that spoke English, he came and knocked on my door, and he said, ma'am, I understand that you can't speak the native language and they can't speak English, and we need to know, they want to know why you're not checking out. So I told him my problem. And so he immediately got on the phone and he called his sister. And he says that she's going to take the bus into your city, which is Matadi, and you can stay the night over there. And in my mind, I said, no, when I get there to Matadi, I want to take the next transportation to get to Angola. I don't want to stay overnight in Matadi. But something in me said, do what this man is telling you to do. So I get on the bus, and it was 9 hours into the interior. And we get there at nightfall, and he dumped us off in the middle of nowhere.
That sounds so fun.
And so the lady, his sister, she had her car there waiting for me. Of course, they could not speak English. If they did not speak English in Kinshasa, they surely didn't speak in 9 hours into the country. And so they had to sign up with my name on it. And they took me home, and they put me in the house, beautiful house, and they gave me the keys and told me to lock the door. So I said, okay. So I went ahead and took a bath, changed my clothes and everything. And then a few hours later, I heard a big boom, 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 boom on the door. I said, oh, that must be, the lady of the house, right? But it wasn't. Yeah. It turned out to be this big, tall man and these 2 little short men with AK-47. And I'm scared. I'm like, can I help you? He said, there's a problem. My English not good. He said, have you eaten? I said, no. He said, come, we'll go and get something to eat. I said, okay. So I got dressed, went to, we met at this hotel where he brought 3 other individuals, and they could speak English. So we were able to have a conversation. So once I got the interpreter, I said, well, sir, who are you? And I'm going to tell you about God's divine hand and providence. He said, I am the president of the Centralized Bank of the Congo. And I said, oh, thank you, for allowing me to be in your presence. And I said, well, who is Madame Pierrette? And it turned out that she was the assistant president of the Centralized Bank of the Congo. And she was called off to do some more banking business in another city. So she asked him to come meet me and show me that hospitality and so forth and so on. And so to cut it short, I was stranded, and they showed me A1 hospitality. They treated me like a sister. They treated me very well. And the next morning I had breakfast with the president of the bank, and he sent me on his private jet to the next city, which was Boma. And I think about how I was in God's hands, in the hands of the Congolese people that treated me very, very well. And they looked out for me and looked after me. So my opening statement is, the spirit of Africa is one. The spirit of the African people is one people.
Okay. Well, my opening statement will kind of tie in with teachers, and that's pretty much keep the same energy when it comes to community involvement. We always screaming we need to bring the community back together. We need to be more of a community-minded entity. But those of us that actually remember what that community mindset was, understand that not everyone is accepting of that. You got people out here that say, what I do in my home is what I do in my home. I don't need nobody telling me nothing. Fine. That's your point. I respect that. But you got to keep that same energy when it comes to community involvement. If you don't want nobody in your home telling you about your home, then you should not go outside your home and extend the hand out to the community for help. Keep that same energy. If you don't want community in your home, don't bring community in your home when you think you need it. Because community is there not just to help you, but they're there to ensure your success and your longevity. They're there to build you up, to inspire you. They're also there to chastise you and discipline you when you're in the wrong. I remember having neighbors that I couldn't do certain things around because if they saw me, they were given the permission by my parents to beat my ass if I did something stupid. And then they would tell my parents, who would in return beat my ass again. So as a child, I was very mindful of how I conducted myself outside for the fear of the community. Because just as easily as they would give me candy and other little snacks, they put that switch in my butt too. So if you have a problem with that type of mentality, that type of existence, be mindful of that when you out here screaming that we need to be a community, we all need to be together. That comes with good and bad as well. So if you're not willing to take the bad with it, don't ask for the good. Keep the same energy across the board. And I'll leave that as my opening statement. If Donnell's here, he can do his. If not, our special guest, would you like to come in?
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Nsumna, Matnatuk, Rasamada, Sikiwe Baleka. I just said my ancestral language of Krasa, of the Balanta people. I said, greetings, Bendemba family. My name is Brasamada, also known as Sikiwe Baleka. Since I'm new here, I'll make more of an introduction than an opening statement. I am the 6th generation grandson of Brasa and Chabra. Was captured as a boy from his ancestral homeland in Nakra, which is modern-day Guinea-Bissau, and brought to Charleston, South Carolina in the 1760s. Our family has been living in this land of captivity for 6 generations ever since then. I was born and raised outside of Chicago, given a slave name, became a state champion swimmer and a U.S. Olympic swimming hopeful, with the opportunity to become the first African-American on the United States Olympic swim team. Ended up going to Yale University and had an identity crisis. Became conscious of myself and became politically conscious, and had a very passionate desire to find out who I am, and rediscover myself as an African person. And this led me to various different movements, including the Rastafari movement. And I ended up going to Ethiopia and living there. And while I was there, I became a registered journalist and worked at the African Union, and at the African Development Bank and the Economic Commission for Africa. I was in the room when the African Union amended their constitution with Article 3Q to include the African diaspora as the sixth region. And as a result of that, came back to the United States and initiated and launched the first African Union Sixth Region Education Campaign. In 2000, later on, 2007, I attended the African Union Grand Debate on the United States of Africa. So I'm the only quote unquote African American, right, to attend both of those historic African Union sessions. After that, I took a DNA test and discovered my paternal lineage was a 100% match with the Binham-Brasa or Balanta people of Guinea-Bissau. And my maternal lineage was a 99.2% match with Yoruba people from Nigeria. As I was raised by my father, I tend to identify with my Balanta ancestry. And as a result of that, I am the founder and president of the Binham-Brasa Balanta History and Genealogy Society in America. Our members have gone back to Guinea-Bissau and reconnected with Balanta people. We now do development projects for Balanta people in Guinea-Bissau. We initiated Guinea-Bissau's Diaspora Decade of Return initiative, similar to what's happening in Ghana and Sierra Leone and some other places right now. And we have started what is called the Lineage Restoration Movement, which is designed to, there are 500,000 people that have taken the African ancestry DNA test, discovered their African ancestry lineage, and have used that as a way to re-engage and bridge the gap between those of us on this side of the Atlantic and those of us on the other side of the Atlantic who share the same ancestors. So I'm thrilled that Professor Diop we had a chance to talk today, and she invited me to join you guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Waiting on Donna. Yes.
I'm here.
We here, baby.
Connoisseur, maybe. So let me go ahead and just do my statements real quick. This is what happens when you get good news and they try to stop you. Thank you so very, very much.
That's true.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden they're trying to stop me. They're trying to stop. But then I'm kind of happy that they coming after me because I told y'all that this show was going to take off. It's going to take off. And we're getting, guests. We're talking topics that nobody else want to talk about. And this is going to keep on going. It's going to keep going. We don't have no hidden conglomerate behind us. We're not funded by anybody. It's just us, the panelists. Teach, Beast Johnson, Miss Sharon, and myself. Come from different parts of the world, but we all here for a common goal. This is why I said we control the narrative. We control it. Nobody else. It's all created here, done here. It's like FUBU, for us, by us. And that's going to keep on going. And one other thing I do want to mention and I do want to say, the WET Network is officially up, but not out to the public, even though it is public on my website and all that stuff. But I'm not putting it out there. So all y'all content creators, if you want to get your show on here, bring it. So I'm still trying to find out things with the system and all that stuff, which I will not disclose. I will talk to my partner in crime, Mr. Beast Johnson, because he is also in on this. He's also the mastermind of this idea as well. But look out for the WET Network. But also this show. We control the narrative. Take a look. Leave it, baby. We're growing. And we're going to final thought if I can get off the solo. Yeah. see. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the show.
Yeah.
Let's get this party started right. But before we get started, Mr. I just want to make a quick advertisement to the official snack of this panel, RealCheddarBoyPopcorn.com. I actually got some of the popcorn over here right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. Oh, wrong bag. Never mind. I actually still got some flavors that I still have, like the white cheddar and the popular birthday cake. But there's other flavors too as well. They got 12 more flavors. And if you want to get your hands on this tasty, oh my gosh, I still got a lot left over. Popcorn. Go to RealCheddarBoyPopcorn.com. Once again, RealCheddarBoyPopcorn.com. Mr. Mo, take it away.
Can I add one more thing before you get there? If you want fresh popcorn all the time, Real Cheddar Boy Popcorn. If you want your popcorn with a resealable bag that you can eat later and it still tastes just as fresh, get that Cheddar Boy. That's right. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, Mr. O, the show is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give me some popcorn right now. Let me go ahead and get off this right quick. I'll be right back.
Well, Mr. O, the floor is yours, sir. Have at it.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Okay. You all know me. I say things as I say it and as I feel it. And I do not have apology. I can accept errors. I listen to those who differ. And in these Americas, I found out from experience that color is not what makes blacks differ from others, especially based on recent immigration 200 years ago to the Americas. The Caucasians brought culture and tradition from the Anglo-Saxon Europe. The Latinos based their own strong Spanish heritage with great influence from the Moors. The Arabs brought with them their own Islam. Here in South America, children of Italians base their values on Italian when you go into their family. When a man of any color dates the daughter of Italian, once they enter the house of the girl, the family will say, we are an Italian family. So, but African Americans, from what I've seen, African Americans, but North and South America, since majority of their ancestors were uprooted, forcibly brought to the Americas, there was a cut from original tradition and culture. I want to seize the opportunity of this program to bring African culture to our community. The matter today is the spirituality of Africa. Africa is the only monotheist continent. I mean to say, sub-Saharan Africa, according to our ancestors. Look, Africa is the only continent that is monotheist. All the rest of the continents polytheists. You see, you can see the European. You have the god of this, the god of war, the god of that, the god of that. No, African tradition in our only now. How are the spirituality organized? There are 5 spiritual levels of according to African tradition. We have the human, the monarchs or Okaoro in my language, oldest man in the village, such that when they die, it is the people that buried them, not family. Then Africa has only supreme being, which in my language they call Sobrobuwe, Osonobrogwe. The Igbos call it Chineke, the Yoruba call it Olodumare. When the white man came to Africa and he saw idols in sanctuaries, he called them gods. We do not call those sanctuaries, those idols, the same way we pronounce the name of the Almighty. Our ancestors worship idols. Neither did they reverence them. The idols show where offerings are made to the adorables. The priests and priestesses have the gift of interpreting between us and the adorable, through which we request to the Almighty, who is too powerful and is the one above all. Look, how at this level done? We, the humans, we are in the lowest level. Above us are the monarchs, or the oldest man in the village. Above them are the people who died. Above that are the layer of the superior entities. Then above them all, there's only one being, and he is the Almighty. The way we pronounce his name in different languages show one unique being, which is Almighty. When somebody, ordinary human, die, their spirits are elevated to the third layer above. But when the monarchs die, they are raised to the fourth, which is the level of the adorables. And these adorables are the one that in sanctuaries. But the sanctuary is not really a place for reverence on the ground. No. The reason why in those sanctuaries is where you have information. Information, when there's a disease, it is the priest that go to that sanctuary to query the upper level how we can confront it. There is a problem. They are the one that have power to ask the ancestors are the way out. That is why Africa was very spiritual. That is why Africa did not have the kind of war of empire Europe, the Arabs, Chinese, or not. Because look, when those priests consult at the we have a problem with that village, and when you consult the oracle, which is done in those sanctuaries, the oracle will say, no, bring me this, bring me 2 gold, leave the rest for me. The other thing is that the other tribe, the other village too, when they go there to their own sanctuary, they get the same answer. On the long run, the villages go on at peace, and then they leave the rest as a divine justice. That is what African spiritual level stands for. These priestesses, they go through the process of rituals where they are prepared, initiation, to be able to interpret between us and the spiritual level. And in fact, that is why you see Africans embrace this Abrahamic religion, because we find that it is from our own root, because Abraham was guided to Africa that then was east, Ur, but today it's in the west. Well, I keep that to me. Another day I will explain why. The Holy Bible is a coded book. Look, Abraham left Ur, founded by an Ethiopian hunter by name Nimrod. He returned to his African roots, guided by those ancient secrets, which is the oracle we still have in Africa today. People like Moses went through the ritual of fire known by traditional priests in Africa. They grew up in Africa. Jesus grew up in Africa and returned to Bethlehem with knowledge of ancient Africa. So when we talk about oracle, remember they said that when they brought Mary Magdalene to Jesus and they told him her sins, what did Jesus do? He squatted down and started writing something on the ground. And later came up and he said, who has no sin should be the first to throw the stone back again to the ground. What did he do on the ground? In Yoruba, it is called Iletite. It's an oracle of the soil, of the earth. There's one of the oracles where you can organize two pieces of on the sand and interprets the message from the spiritual level. So people who in the Bible we call prophets like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Elijah, Elisha, Samuel fall into the category of the African priesthood, which Yoruba call Babalawo, because they for the coming.
Okay. Well, from what I'm hearing from
shed
you,
the light of spirituality to the world. Yes.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. O, is that
yes,
a lack that Africa has the strongest spiritual connection of all other continents, and that you feel as though we as the African Americans or as the enslaved Africans, we have lost that connection. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now. Is that what you're trying to convey? That's what I'm gathering from what you're saying.
No, I'm answering. Yes, because the ancestors were removed. It was done out of wickedness. It was done out of wickedness. Because if you had landed without spirituality, the situation would have been different. But let us say the ancestors wanted it. Today, you have found your root. What we need to give you is our culture of our spirituality, not of religion. Religion is between man and his God. We don't force it, but there are culture about the family relationship, the extended family system that makes strong. Look, what makes Africa strong today? Because of the extended family system. That means the son of or daughter of your brother or sister are your children. And it extends even of cousins of 100 generations. Once they know that they have common root, automatically the blood relationship is reactivated. If you're surprised of the African American, also say African American, because I found out from here that when people migrate, European, Asian, they cut off from their root completely. But continue after hundreds of years to say Africa, because African are the only people that can immigrate without losing contact with their roots. And that is why we have to help you now to really connect well roots in Africa. But it's important that you know our culture, the culture of respect to the elders.
Okay. So I want to.
That is what I want to contribute in this your program.
All right. Not trying to cut you off, Mr. O.
Yes.
Teach, you have anything to add?
Well, I wanted for him to finish his discourse, and I was making questions. The question that I had was, you said African spirituality, but in some places you name the word and the spiritual system, and other places you did not. And so for me, I want you to be very specific.
Well, I have a question for you, Mr. O.
No, look.
And the reason why I'm asking for I'm asking for being specific
Yeah.
because part of the connection is not to be all over the place, but like our guest, Mr. Balanta, he had 100% Balanta blood. So he's dealing 100% with the Balanta people and their systems. And that's our greatest connection when we do that DNA and find out specifically where we're from. And it's good to have a general overall knowledge, but I'm at the place I need that specific knowledge. So if you're talking about the Yoruba and the Ife, then I need you to tell me you're talking about Yoruba and the Ife. Or if you're talking about I don't know, the Ewe system and God,
The Igbo.
then I need you to,
Yes.
I need you to be very specific.
Well, I guess that kind of goes with the question I was
Let's
about to ask you. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes, I have been. Yes, I have been from Chad, Northern Cameroon, Liberia. I've traveled, been with. We are the same ethnic that John created new ethnics, but the spirituality is the same. We all honor our ancestors. We all know that our monarchs are called the son of the gods because they are on a higher level than us, the common. We all know that when the common man dies, the plane, the spirits of the dead are, and that very level is higher. When a monarch dies, he goes to the layer because in some places they have some the sanctuary for them, whereby they pour libation for them, especially if that monarch was very powerful, like Ogun or Shango in Yoruba. So they call them for protection. But no matter how we place in the fourth lower spiritual level, there is only one on top of all. And he has a name which is almighty and is only one. And the Yoruba call him Olodumare. That means is the owner of all the knowledge that we go to. They always call him Olorun, which is the Lord of the skies. In my language, is Osonobre, where somebody too big for us to describe.
Too big.
They just call him Sanova. Then the Igbo call him. Then the Benin, I mean the Igbo call him Chineke, and even the language of Ghana or Liberia, yes, the natives have the name for one. They can never call the idol the same way they call God and confuse us. The thing is that Europeans were very polytheist. You have Jupiter, which is Dorum Inferorum, Dorum Superorum, and in Optimum. They have Pluto, which was Dorum Inferorum. So they have gods of this, god of that, god of that. We have only one God. To use the word God, but in our languages, we have named for that supreme being, which is superior. In fact, the reason, look at one other thing. When we make rituals at the sanctuary, because we want these intermediaries to be the one that can communicate with God. But when we receive it through our head. That is why we bow our head when we are praying. Because this part of the place in the head, this is the unity between the Almighty of the universe and everyone. A human being is from here down, and from here up is God, his creator. That is why the Yoruba call it Eri. So that is why they can pray, they can go, they can pray like this. But when the thing doesn't work, What do Yoruba do? They say, Ori mi, my Ori, my head. That God Almighty, the Almighty, is the head of every one of us. On long run, He's the one we call on to help us when we are in trouble.
All right. We're gonna
Let me
I
ask this
guess.
question.
Do you have any questions? You wouldn't mind if I call you SKB? Okay. Teach.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask this question. I had a curious thing happen just yesterday, and it's really been bothering me. Um, I went outside about 10 minutes to 8 to move my car because we were having a roof put on the house. And as I was coming back in the house, my mother was going to the front door. And I went up the stairs and I began to have a vision. And in that vision, I seen my husband walking in front of the house. And it kind of spooked me because he's hours away. And then I went downstairs and I'm like, Mama. I said, I seen Alaji outside the house. And she said, I know. She said, when you went upstairs, I went to the front door and I seen him walking and standing on the corner. And she said she blinked and she went back to get her glasses to see what she was seeing. And by the time she got back to the front door, of course, he was gone. And so I didn't know what to make of what I seen. I didn't know what it meant.
Yes. Yes, I understand you. You are playing with the spirituality of Africa. You are always calling our ancestors every day. And if you continue to repeat it, our ancestors will visit you.
Our ancestors will
It's
do
just
what?
clear like that. Not it's as clear as crystal. They will visit you. They will visit. Well, the way you are calling them every day, they will visit you, not to destroy you. At times, they show you a road. Look, at times, when they appear, it is possibly because you do not have to look another way. Attention, and it's a way of protection because many times evil spirit can hit you when they see you on the face. So if you continue to call ancestors, then you will have to have a personal relationship with them. They will appear for you at you in dreams. In fact, at times, I'm now telling you the African cosmology, how we understand it. At times it fall. At times it's a stone that will fall. At times it's a bird that will crow. See, when you are in a spiritual mood, then you can begin to see all this. You have to. The only thing is that you only have to be able to interpret them. But since you cannot interpret them, with time, you will be reminded backwards, and then you will know why such a thing appeared to you.
Oh, okay.
That is how we were instructed.
All right. To our guests, do you have any anything to add?
Yeah. So
Now, am I frozen?
yes. The person, the individual that survived the Middle Passage.
Can
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The individual that survived the
a bit, yeah. Repeat, please.
Okay. The individual, the person that survived the Middle Passage was a member of a family that lived in a specific territory and was raised in a specific culture and spoke a specific language. When that person survived the Middle Passage and arrived in America, the slave owners intentionally renamed the person forbid them to speak their language with the intention of making them forget where they came from. Okay? So while this process was happening, right, it didn't take long for those identities and those knowledges to be lost. For example, in the case of my 6th generation great-grandfather, he was only a boy, 8 years old, when he was brought to South Carolina. He had not gone through various initiations of the Balanta people. So he had not been invested with the full knowledge of Balanta culture and the gnosis of Balanta spirituality. For someone of his age and anyone that age, in a lot of ways, they were like an open book. They didn't have much knowledge to defend or to hold on to because they were so young. Within 2 or 3 generations, for most of the people who are descendants of those that survived the Middle Passage, most of the conscious knowledge of their family, their territory, their language, and their spiritual and their culture had been lost. However, all of that was encoded in their DNA. And this is what epigenetics is teaching us, which means we have lost nothing except the key for unlocking it. That all of that spirituality and knowledge is encoded. We have just struggled for 5 generations to unlock it. And what is happening now is we have the new tool of genetic testing that can, for the first time in this 250-year, 400-year saga, we can begin to unlock the genetic aspect, because word is sound is power. It's a vibration. All of the experiences that we have are coded by language. The important thing now in this generation is it's not enough that you know that you came from Africa, somewhere in Africa. That is not how the ancestral realm that Professor O is speaking of, that is not how it works. If your ancestors are in the specific territory of, say, Nakra, where my ancestors come from, then me going to Ghana or Cameroon or Ethiopia is not how I'm going to make the maximum connection with my ancestor. The way that connection works is you actually have to go to the land that the ancestors are connected to. These are the kinds of things that we are teaching in the lineage restoration movement. So, for example, in the 1960s, you had a lot of people that were learning Swahili, an African language, which is great. But if your ancestors weren't from Swahili territory, those word sound powers are not going to unlock all of the things in your epigenetic DNA coding. So it's important now, while we can talk about we all come from the African continent, there's a whole new consciousness with the United States. 500,000 people have already taken the African ancestry test and are connecting specifically with the cultures that was robbed and stolen from them. That is the future of the movement in America, and also the future for the African continent. Because those ancestors that live in the realm Professor O is speaking of are equally concerned with their lineage descendants on both sides of the Atlantic.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
I'll just leave it there.
Okay. I just want to say
So,
this.
All right.
That with
let-
the crossing of the Middle Passage, we went through a sort of baptism, a baptism of confusion, a baptism to separate us. But just like my wide nose came through and survived the Middle Passage, so did my spiritual system. I think I've mentioned several times, I'm very spiritual. The only thing that I lack is a name for this and a name for that. But I am in constant guidance of my ancestors. They guided me through all of my adventures. So if we would just listen, the ancestors are speaking. They're talking all the time. But what clouds us, and some people may not agree with this, but what clouds us is religion. Religion tells us that you can't talk to the dead, that you don't have any ancestors, that they're familiar spirits, that they're demonic spirits. And that's what separates us or keep us from being our greatest selves when we get boxed in with religion and don't know where to put religion in our life if we so choose to have it. We allow it to overtake us like an overgrown weed instead of containing it into the little box that it should be in, if it should be in your life. Because our ancestors teach us our culture and give us the guidance that we need to govern ourselves to be the best people that we can be.
Mr. O, were you?
I won't say it's religion. I won't say it's religion teach, but I'll say it's I'll say it's the Tower of Babel. More specifically,
I will answer them.
Prior to that moment, hold on, Mr. Like for teach, to truthfully be honest, prior to that moment, spirituality and religion go hand in hand, but religion is man's control of spirituality, trying to form it to his own, not to his God, but to his own understanding and own personal comprehension. This is as much as I can understand, so I need to build my God or my spirituality to that. I don't know if this is how I was informed about religion in school, but all religion came from Africa because it was part of spirituality. Religion was mainly devised after polytheism, which basically says that God is everywhere. God is everything. But depending on your personal location, you will praise God in a specific fashion. Whereas in Mr. O's tribe might be more centrally located, but your tribe might be closer to water. My tribe might be closer to the jungles. We still praise God as the Almighty, but I praise God for the protection from the jungle, from the protection of the predators, while you're praising God for the overwhelming water that keeps everybody sustained. Where Mr. O is praising him because he might be a farmer, so he's praising him for the soil, for the viable land in order to grow stuff. We're all praising the same God, we're just praising him in different fashions. And then once Tower of Babel came and everyone was forced to speak another language that they couldn't understand themselves, and then you have the Middle Passage coming along there, it only furthers separates us. What little we do remember, what little we can keep hold of, we try to form it and build something from there. So because I can't understand what you're saying when you're saying God is in the water, it sounds different in my ear. Because I say God is everywhere, but you're saying, yeah, but I praise God for the water because I fish and I need this water to survive. But I don't hear that because I can't understand your language anymore. So now you have the same mentality. When you go over there, you start praising God and using what little of your culture and your spirituality that you remember to form that religion. So whatever words and saying that you had, you will form it from there, and I will do the same likewise on my end. And because we can't understand each other and we lost that ability to comprehend each other, we lost the understanding that the God he serves is the same God as the God I serve. He's just serving him in a different purpose because he has a different purpose on this world. My purpose is to be a farmer, to be a warrior. So I'm praising God for good soil and strong men and strong will when I'm out here on the battlefield. But y'all praying, praising God and asking God for different things. Doesn't mean that your God is different from my God. We're just asking for different things for our personal lives. I feel like Africa is one of the only places that still understands that God is everywhere. God is found in everything. So just because him saying God in his language sounds different, I know in my heart, I know in my spirit, we're talking about the same God. Just because it sounds different.
Right.
Well, I think the perfect example to what I was saying
Yoruba.
is the movie that Beyonce just put out, Black is King. And if you look at the response, you have Black people that are saying, oh, how dare she dress up and look like an African god? That's blasphemy. They're calling it demonic and everything evil up under the sun. And all she is doing is illuminating the spirit that's within her. She's reconnecting. Not only is she reconnecting, but as a celebrity, she's taken her power to illuminate it back to Black people just to accept what you are. And that's why I say religion, because the religion and the verbiage that they're using keeps them from connecting with that movie. The religion says that anything that's not Jesus, anything that is not Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is demonic. And that's the backlash on this film. And that's why I say religions is separating. If you are indoctrinated, there's certain things that you're going to filter out a certain way. And that is a barrier. I think it's a great thing. I haven't seen the movie. I actually was going to prescribe to Disney so I can see it, because I want to know what is her message? What is she saying? And if it's anything like I think it is, then ashe and amen, because now the African God has an opportunity to be resurrected and take a respectful place in the world. As I've said on other shows, when you line up every religion or spiritual practice in the world, it is only that which pertains to Black people that is demonized.
I'm gonna get Mr. O to come on in, get him to rebut. Come on, Mr. O. I've been trying to get you.
Before he says that, I want to make it clear. Hold on, Mr. O. Before you say that, I want to make it clear, when we're talking about religion, we're not talking about all religions. Primarily, we are talking about Christianity, and to a lesser extent, we're talking about Islam, because these are the two primary religions currently that follow that mindset and follow those tactics. So we're not speaking on Confucianism or Buddhism or even Satanism. But if those religions follow along that line, then yes, we talking about it. But for confusion purposes, we talking about Christians and Muslims that have that extreme mentality. I don't want to confuse nobody out there and get no hate mail.
Yeah. Right.
See, okay. I'll begin with Base Johnson. You said about all over the world that God. In Yoruba, one of the name of that Almighty is Atere, that He spreads all over the planet. So that's one of the names, many names. The Yoruba has 1,000 names for that Almighty. I describe everything about Him. 2, religion. Well, I understand which is mounted from Latin. The thing is that Christianity goes from adopt to different places. Christianity really is a way of life more than a religion. It's men, especially in Europe, that later on turn it into a religion instead of a way of life. With regards to DNA, I want to tell you, if you want to know your roots, DNA is not the perfect medium. Africa has what is needed to trace your lineage directly in a more perfect form. In fact, telling you the whole story about how it began. It is found in south of Nigeria called Ifa or Ifa or Afa in Igbo. Look, there are different type of Ifa oracle. Of course, the head of all is Orunmila, which is the spirit that shook the universe and opened it. But there is one which is called Okpele. Okpele will tell you your root with high precision.
Okpele,
high precision.
Okpele.
When you meet the real Olokpele, they will throw the thing to Okpele. Okpele is the person doing it. Usually women are using it. Yeah, Olokpele, men or women that use Okpele. Okpele on the ground will tell you with precision and will even tell you the ancient stories, roots to the person that was captured into. In my tribe, look, I have seen his work. I'm talking from experience. In my tribe, we have. Look, I'm giving you one of my plans. When I go home, possibly in 2 years' time, I'm going to my village. I'm going to ask, what did David do when he conquered the Jebus to establish Jerusalem as capital? There must be something he did that city has seen no peace for 4,000 years. I want to ask. Look, there is a leaf. They put it in a pot. I've seen it many times. They see, my nephew told me that it is still on. They put water in it, and somebody carries it on the head. You give money to the person carrying it, and the priest with one collar on hand. Where is it? Look, I have seen it. They say, you want to tell me the truth? And you will see the pour water. And they say, so away, and it goes back again. That will tell you with high precision where your roots come from. Superior to any DNA. We have them all over from Mombasa to Dakar. No Christianity, no Islam has been able to destroy it. In fact, Ifa temple now is built in Ile-Ife. They are not booming. I have Ifa poem here, but you need to have the real priest that can decode the message, that can, when they throw it, when they play it, that will be able to tell you with high precision what you came to request. In fact, when you go and ask, but when you arrive, you don't even need to ask, tell them, find out your route. I have seen it. Not DNA. That is what I wanted to explain to you. If African Americans want to trace their roots, we can guide them. Our ancestors left something for us. And those things, not like they left, they know who left and how they left. And we can trace their roots back to their village.
And that's where Africa needs to stand up. They need to stand up and do it. That's the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah, can I
stand up and do it?
Can I respond to the professor?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. I want a response from you, please.
It's
definitely a response from you.
It's unfortunate that the professor would automatically think or feel threatened or think that I was saying that the DNA is superior to, in my tradition, what we call the Sikhs, the people that have the connection to the ancestral realm and can consult the ancestral realm. It's not an either or, and it's not a competition. What I'm saying is, the fact of the matter is this. As a man, I get a Y chromosome from my father that he gets from his father, that he gets from his father, that he gets from his father, that is never going to change. We now have this science to read that Y chromosome. By the same token, I have an X chromosome that I inherited from my mother, that she got from her mother, that she got from her mother. Okay? This is all part of the creation of the Almighty. It is based on universal laws and principles that govern creation and specifically human reproduction. We now have the tools to be able to read those chromosomes, to go back 6 generations, 7 generations, 8 generations, 9 generations, to tell me or to tell us, your Y chromosome has the exact same pattern of these people here in Africa. Now, the reason why that is important is so I know where to go in Africa to then consult the people with those spiritual gifts. If my ancestors are Binhambrasa Balanta people from Nakra in Guinea-Bissau, when I go to Cameroon and I'm consulting Bamileke ancestors that have nothing to do with my ancestral lineage, that consultation is going to be somewhat limited. So what I'm saying is, don't make the mistake of seeing it as either or making it a competition. DNA is now a new tool in the same way. For example, imagine when we first discovered fire. Had we mastered the art of fire? Could we use it and harness it to forge iron weapons at first? No. It was a new thing, but having it allowed us to do things that we couldn't do before. And we got more experienced with it that allowed us to then harness fire and do even more advanced things. So this DNA testing is in its early infancy stages, but there are enough. It's like, I saw there was a comment on the screen saying, well, DNA is imperfect. I agree, it is imperfect. But nobody said that the DNA science has to be perfected before it can become useful. We have already seen it useful, and a number of our members have gone back to their homeland, consulted the sacred man, and then the sacred man told them the kinds of things that were never recorded on paper that pertain specifically to that person's family lineage, because that sacred man was the keeper of that knowledge. But that individual would never have access to it if he didn't take the DNA test to know that this is where he needed to go to seek it.
Exactly.
So it's not a competition. It is not saying one is superior than the other. African people have just as much right to the scientific knowledge about genetics as any other group of people on the planet.
Well, what I'm hearing from you, which is actually beautiful from both of you, what I'm hearing is a two-part conversation. I'm hearing that from you, Hold on, Mr. O.
DNA
You gonna like this?
is more. Yes.
Oh yeah. What I'm hearing from both of y'all,
I just want to tell him about DNA because
it's a complete story. Hold on, sir. Because for those like myself that want that drive, both of you make good points, and what you're saying is actually a complete statement. For those of us that haven't begun the process, for those of us that are kind of left in transition, you just basically gave us the blueprint.
Yep.
For an American, you want to start off with the scientific only as more of a GPS locator.
There you
Before you take the trip, before you take the money invested to go to Africa, and as a continent, go talk to the brother that we got here today. He could tell you, okay, when you get that ticket to Africa, make sure you're going to Sudan. Make sure you're going to Nairobi. You know, he's gonna give you the specific location. Then from there, we're gonna find a brother like yourself, Mr. O, and then you're gonna give us the local information, the stuff that our ancestors weren't able to overtake down the line, or they weren't able to write down. So I agree with both of you completely. I feel like you can't do one without the other, because for me to go straight to Africa and try to find and hope to God that if I meet you, you are the African that I need to meet. You are the African that's going to bring me back to my African roots. That's the prayer and hope that I'm going in if I don't take the due diligence to talk to a brother like Professor Malaki down there. I need to find that out. So I agree with both of y'all. Like, both of y'all are telling the truth. Yeah, both of y'all is right there. But this is a conversation that needs to be heard from both sides. Like, both of y'all are a dollar, but you the head and he the tail, or vice versa. We still need both sides to make that dollar coin a dollar coin. And right now, y'all just made this dollar coin very, very precious. And I hope everybody got this information and use this dollar.
And before I'm gonna step in real
I just
want to say this real quick, Mr. Joe, because you like hearing this, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. We are on the same sheet of music, but we are playing different instruments. I just want to put it out there real quick.
Yes.
Let's go ahead. Because I know you like hearing it.
Say that you're absolutely correct. My very first trip to Africa, I went to 5 different countries, and mingling with the people, there were some countries I X'd off the list because we just didn't vibe. And for me, I was looking for the food, and I did not find my DNA food until I got to South Africa. But here's the twist. South Africa at an Angolan restaurant. So we went to this Angolan restaurant, and they had the collard greens and ham hocks. Now, I've been to 5 different countries, didn't even go to Angola. I was in South Africa, but it was in Angola that I found the collard greens and ham hocks. And so there's different, for me, you know, this is my life, this is my passion, so I'm going to do it. The average person is not going to do what I have done. But on that hunch of that collard greens and ham hocks, I said I was from Angola, right? So it wasn't until, when did I get my DNA test? In 2015?
Yes.
So from 1997, I said I was from Angola. It wasn't until 2015 that I actually had my DNA test, and it confirmed that part of my DNA is from Angola.
Go ahead, Mr.
O. Sifiwe, look, I am an applied scientist. I understand about the DNA. But as well as I know is that the DNA, for precision, passes through the womb, the mother, not the father. That is why scientists have proved that all mankind descend from a woman in South Africa, because DNA is more, it can give you more root through the woman, because the womb of the mother prints an identity on every child, and is transferred from mother to mother to mother to mother to mother. So that is why I say that I'm not rejecting DNA, but but I'm telling you that, in fact, we can see of some African American and even tell which part of Africa the person look. For example, of course, the face of Almonte, as I'm seeing him, I'll not be surprised that if he traces it to Southeast Nigeria. You see, some of us who were born with that spirituality, when we look, we can, we can have some idea about, because there are some gestures which are inborn, which are passed through blood.
Yes, yes, yes.
You can be either father or mother to the child. So when you see the gesture, those of us who come from religion, we can begin to see which kind of guy. We say this guy is an Igbo guy. No, this is a Yoruba guy. We can see, So that is why I say, when you look at those from Venezuela, and through their music, there's no doubt they are Yoruba. If you see the mixture of Angola and Yoruba, so most of them have been mixed up generation of generation, that DNA may trace through the mother, but not through the father. But when you go to Okpele will split it for you. Okpele will tell you if you have 100 roots, it will tell you. That is what I'm pointing to. I hope I'm clear.
Okay.
You're very clear, because in my experience, I wish I could put a picture up of me and my husband. My husband is from Senegal, but my DNA said I had a very minute portion of Senegal. But if you look at a picture of me and my husband, we have the exact same nose right through here, exact same nose, exact same. So that 1% Senegal is right here. These eyes are from Angola. These are Angola eyes. And it's one thing, my Angolan friends, I just kept looking at him. I said, he just looks so familiar. This man just looks so familiar. And it was the eye. And I had taken pictures of him. When I came back home, I said, Mama, look at this man. This man looks like somebody I know. Who does this man look like? And she said, he looks like your father when he was his age. I'm like, that's
don't tell me that, Mama. don't tell me that, Mama. I don't need to be on Maury.
No, I mean, but, and then it was something that this young man used to always say that my father always said, and I hated when my father said it. And he used to, well, he still says, he said, I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler. And I'm like, when I first met him, I said, stop saying that. I cannot stand that phrase. But then that's what my father used to say. And then historically, we know that some of the first Africans arrived in America from Angola, coming from the Dutch East India Company. Well before Britain got into the slave trade, there were already Africans in the Americas from the Dutch.
See, and that's what my next question was going to be.
But
and
no,
I want to take it off the subject.
Yes. There were who were not slaves. That was even far before Christopher Columbus. I'm also from Ghana. So, today what I brought for you is the other matter. I'll leave it for another time because it's more political. Today I brought you the spirituality of Africa, and another time I will tell you about the family relationship. I will go deeper more on polygamy And I will tell you personally, monogamy is a failure. And I say it everywhere. I know how we together, how we care for each other. What now the new evangelical pastors are destroying, which is they are taking the place of the elder. Elders are the voice of elders are voice of God, a voice of the Almighty in our tradition. Now, one small boy will come with a Bible and a coat and making old people kneel down before him for prayer. That is a sacrilege under African tradition. The Ifa priests, no matter how high he is, when he sees an elder, he bows down. The Ifa priestess, no matter how he is, when she sees somebody who's elder, she kneels down. See, because the elders are ruled to, when you respect your elders, you respect your God. That is African tradition. So picking in a culture, maybe our community to find their roots culturally and traditionally from what Almonte's show will be exposing to the audience. That's all I have for you today, Almonte.
Mr. O, thank you so very, very much. And actually, you're ending it on the perfect timing. We actually hit the end of the show. So for our guests, this is the part where we do our final thought. Basically, our final thought is either just like the opening statements. It could be pertaining to the topic of the show, or it could be something off the cuff that you want to get off your chest. So as a great gesture, I would love for you to open it up for us. But before we do, y'all know why I always ask, are y'all good for Wednesday?
Yep.
I'm not sure. I have to let you know.
Of course.
You're inviting me back? I'd love to come back.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes. We always like to have our guests come back, and then also I'm gonna see if I can reach out to the owner of Cheddar Boys, and then also I just found out right now. I was like, "Yo, what's this on the back?" This is very ingenious. Beast Johns, you can contest to this. Look what he got on the back. Ingenious.
Is that wet white?
That's very ingenious. Let me show it again. Yes, that is wet white. I just found that out.
Okay, pause. I need everybody look at me right now. I need everybody look at me right now. This is the moment. Mr. O has been telling black folk that we need to step up and we need to show that we got something. This brother out here on the West Coast got resealable popcorn bags with wet wipes. Come on now, people. Come on now.
That's awesome. Stand up and show out.
No, I'm about to get real. How many white businesses?
I wonder, does he have to trademark that? He should trademark that.
I believe
it's trademarked.
Yes,
it's trademarked. We thought we're here on the Almonte show. Anybody to do it after us, Cheddar Boy, we taking them to court.
You damn right. We gonna be right there with you. So
dots his I's and cross his T's, because I've never seen that on a bag of popcorn.
And the thing is, when Mr. O and y'all were talking, I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, yo, what's that on the bag? Because I thought it was, where they put up in the food to
like a little label.
Yeah, they keep it up.
Here's what you thought it was.
Good, and
keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh. It's like, don't eat it. And that's why I thought, I'm like, why would they have it on the outside? I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is freaking the wet napkins. I'm like, what? Very ingenious.
Like I said, how many white businesses y'all done went to? How many white fast food chains? How many white people you done shopped at? And how many white owned products you done bought from the store? They tell you, hey, we sitting here telling you our food is good. We want you to buy our food. Our food is tasty. But you know what really tells you our food is tasty? We went ahead and pre-packaged some napkins and some wet wipes because we know you're going to
Good.
You never know. I might be eating. If find me a fine one, like, oh, hold on real quick. Hey, baby, you want some popcorn?
Yep. And I got the wipes go with the baby. You don't have to wipe it on your shirt or your pants. Got the
That's ingenious. It really is. That's awesome. I'm gonna make sure I get my order in this weekend.
Hey, look, I gotta be real. That's our people. That's my people. We did that.
That's our people. Yes.
We did that.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
we claiming that one.
Don't forget to order. Get
your order. They already looking out for you. They know what tastes good, and they know you know what tastes good.
Yeah. So now let's go ahead into our let's head into our final thoughts because we can go all day talking about that. So, but Wednesday,
yes,
we all will be back. Hopefully, Teach, she will be joining us. But here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to keep mine to the point. The reason why there's a conversation between Africans on the continent, Africans on the other side of the Atlantic in the Americas in the United States, the reason why there's a conflict about what's different or separates us is because a crime was committed. A crime that involved the kidnapping and trafficking of a person. That person came from a family, spoke a specific language, lived in a specific territory, and had a specific culture. And that was taken from that person and that person's descendants upon arrival in America. The main thing that African American people suffer from and that we have this desire for is to regain the knowledge of where in Africa that person came from. What language did that person in Africa speak? And what culture and what kind of spiritual practice did that person have? And any tool that enables us to reclaim that so that we can unlock the secrets encoded epigenetically in our DNA is useful for our liberation.
Thank you so very much for our guest. Thank you. For me, my final thought is this. I have a great panel. While I'm having technical difficulties on my end and all that stuff, they kept the show going. I was still hearing them. I was getting my stuff fixed and all that stuff. Y'all just don't know how great of a panel I have. We may have a difference of views and our statements may vary, but at the end of the day, we are a team. This is why, when T said, hey, we got 1,000 views, you got 1,000 reach, I actually got off. Well, I was having technical difficulties. They after us, but I went and I looked for myself, and the engagements are there. The post clicks, the reaches, it's gone beyond what I thought. Definitely with the WET network being up, it's been great, and I couldn't do it without this panel. I couldn't do it, do it without them, and I want to thank them when I was going through my ordeal. And the thing is, we do it for each other. When Teach, for some reason, when she had problems, we kept going on with the show. She just came in, and she just is like she never left. Same with Mr. O, Beast Johnson. And then also for our guests, usually when the guests see that we having issues and problems, they stuck with it, and everything just went smoothly. But also, not only just to big thank you to the panel, I want to do a big thank you for all of our new followers that's coming in, because we just getting followers even on days we don't have shows. And also for those who have been loyal to the show, that have been watching it every time we're on, and also watching it every time we're not on. Thank you. Our numbers are growing, and we're going to keep growing. Keep it up. It's going to get, the show's going to get better from here. I promise you. The past couple of shows has been error on my end. We need more guests on this show. If you have a guest that y'all want to see on the show, let us know. Even though we're supplying the guests ourselves, but if you want somebody that wants to be on the show, that voice need to be heard, just shoot us a holler, give us a message, say, hey, we want this person here, and we do the rest. But other than that, thank y'all for supporting the show, and also thank you for this panel for coming on and giving out their insights and giving out their ideas. Thank y'all so very, 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 very much to Mr. O, to Cheech, to B. Johnson. And guests, thank you, and we would love to have you back on the show.
Our ancestors are calling for the lost children of the diaspora. They are calling that we may be healed, that the breach between the Atlantics is repaired, that we are restored as brother and sister. We cannot go forward without each other. We all have something to share and contribute to the African Renaissance, to that new glory. The ancestors are calling us. Are you listening? Do you hear their voices? Do you see them in a dream? Does a thought drop into your mind? Do you have a vision? That is your ancestors. And they're calling you to bring forth the gifts and talents that they put in you to be used to bring us all back home. Those that's on the continent, they are charging you to stand up with the knowledge that you have and no longer be ashamed of the knowledge, because the colonizers told you that your knowledge was demonic or your knowledge was demonized and wicked. Stand up in your knowledge and share your knowledge, because we in the diaspora need that. That is the tool of reconnection. Those on the continent, I charge you to speak your native language. Don't take so much pride in speaking English. Don't take so much pride in perfecting your French or perfecting Portuguese or perfecting Spanish. I charge you to speak your native language, because when you on the continent, when you speak your native language, we in the diaspora, we get to hear the voice of our ancestors. The ancestors are calling. Are you listening? Will you answer the call? I, Anita Jope, I answer the call of my ancestors. Good night, and good night. Okay. All right, it seems that we're having a little difficulty for the.
Oh, it's on me. Okay. Well, my final thought will be, as we continue down this process and path of new beginnings and change, we must remember to adopt and adapt, but never assimilate. And what I mean by that is, as we grow, as we learn more about who we are as a person, as we learn more about who we were as a people. We must adapt to that new information and adopt it into our lifestyle. What we must not do is assimilate ourselves into false doctrines. We must not assimilate ourselves into insecure, unwavering ignorance. The change cannot happen from there. If we're not willing to adopt new information and adapt that new information into our lives, how can we say that we'll ever be able to change? So if you're looking to change, if you're expecting change, then make sure you're ready to adopt that change and adapt it into your life. If not, well, just sit back and shut the hell up. Don't nobody want to hear it. But for everybody else, adapt, adopt. Don't assimilate. Y'all have a good evening. I'll leave that as my final thought. Bye-bye.
We Africans, we have not lost our languages. The languages are taught in the schools, books, literature are written in our native languages. I am in touch with that continent every day. I speak a number of African languages. That means language, not dialects, but language. So that's on that point. And in fact, the music, even the gospel singing, are all now in different African languages and help keep the language alive. So, and even films that are being created in the continent are already done in many regional languages. Our guest today, from what I see from our guest today, I now understand what many of you are feeling as regards this problem with the roots. He made an expression of he used one word, healing. And also, our sister Anita repeated that word. There will be healing. This show, we open the road to it because I'm well rooted. I'm informed about what happened, the folklore, what these tribes say, what the other tribes say, what the other tribes say about slavery. That is where we must focus on. I told you, maybe by September, I will review why this problem of African diaspora, it has a root. It's a very spiritual root. But later, I'll help create a code for us to be able to mobilize for the healing. There is healing. Our ancestor left the knowledge for us. And it is Africa that has to do the healing, not the African American. It's Africa. When we know the roots of this, then we agree together and call on Africa to stand up and do the rituals for healings. That is on point. As time goes on, in one program, I will explain to you Ifa, Ewa, or Afa, these oracles of different stages, of different categories, which is used in Africa to look forward, to look backward, and also explain to you why the misinterpretation of this oracle allowed many of Africans to sell their own. So when we know really the origin of there are two slavery. One is East Africa that have been suffering under the Arabs for almost 2,000 years. The other is what happened of recent whereby Arabs and African chiefs sold their own into the Western world. They are coded. We know them in our folklore. I will tell you later what we had in the folklore. Then later on, we begin to look for the road to healing. But as I repeat, African American will not do the healing. The healing has to be done from the root, from Africa. And we have to tell them straight in their eyes, people of Africa, that they owe diaspora, not the other way around. We have to make it plain. So you know me, I say my thing where I feel it. Africa owes diaspora. Africa has to pay and do the healing. The spiritual healing is what needed, and we will get it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you also on Wednesday.
Before we head on down, I must say this once again, Mr. O. If hope was a person, you will be the picture. That is him right there. Mr. Hope. Mr. Hope right there. I'm telling y'all, ladies and gentlemen.
Picture right here, just, with that blue ray, that blue ray.
Yeah. Mr. O. If hope was a person, that would be Mr. O. But other than that, I'd like to thank our guests for being on. Thank you so much. If you're going to be on Wednesday, please let me know. And also, Mr. O, other than my technical difficulties, great show. Also, I'd like to say for Beast Johnson and Teach, y'all did great shows. You know, like I said, I've been having y'all pick the topics, and I'm just, on standby and all that stuff. So Wednesday is basically a free-for-all show, so I'm going to get my notes ready and everything. But other than that, thank y'all for tuning in. Once again, thank you to our guest. Hopefully he'll be back on Wednesday. I'm going to try to get another guest up on here as well. But other than that, as for me,
make sure you add him to the group. Make sure you add him to the group so he can get the notification, because if I'm tied up, I won't be able to send the link.
Oh, okay. All right.
So make sure.
All right, cool. Once again, and then also I'm gonna take one thing from Teach from the last show. Let's give a shout out to my battle buddy Keith McCary and also Rachel. They've been loyal watchers to the show. Thank you so very, very much. Keep supporting the show, and don't forget, and I keep forgetting to say this because I usually always say it all the time. Tell people about this show. Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell your side pieces, tell your friends. Don't tell your kids, because this show, I will not refer to the kids, but tell people about this show. This is real as it get. This is as real as it can get. Tell people about the show. Watch it. Tune in. All that great stuff. But other than that, for myself, Donnell Lamonte Morris, the host, to Mr. O, to Anita Joke, a.k.a. Teach, to Beast Johnson, and also to our guests. Thank you. Thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. It's been real. Y'all have a good one. And don't forget to get your popcorn, realcheddarboardpopcorn.com. Once again, Real Cheddar Board.
It comes with the whites.
It comes with the whites.
They care about you, baby.
That's awesome.
And
y'all
speaking of that,
y'all know y'all gonna have that dust off there. No more of this right here.
I'm gonna keep this strolling all the way to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning in. It's been real. Y'all have a good one. Please stay safe out there. There's still a disease out there. But other than that, y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night, everyone. Good job, Professor.